It's finally happening. More game studios are listening to the players and giving us the diversity, equality, and inclusion we've been asking for decades. Make every ass fat. Hi frogs, I'm Susu, and today is a good day for gamers everywhere. By the way, if you like my hat, check out my new merch drop, link in the description. Thanks for supporting the channel. Chinese developer Netease Games released Marvel Rivals on December 6, 2024. Honestly, this was long overdue. With the rapid decline of interest in Overwatch, SFM gods have been yearning for a new class-based shooter to rip models from and create the next generation of degen innovation. Incredible strides in technology have been made for want of game-based erotica, so I for one am quite intrigued to see what comes next. The Blender animations of Yor featuring Elizabeth from BioShock got the ball rolling for huge improvements in custom 3D animation, and with every new game that has hot characters, the technology available to the public to make more in-depth creations enhances. Things like jiggle physics using bones and armatures, as well as learning to rig individual body parts like tongues and toes and facial expressions, are also utilized in VTuber technology to make models more expressive. Think of your favorite Oshi and make sure to thank these revolutionary amateur animators. And now they have procedural physics, which is when the computer program is able to calculate realistic physics, which makes the animation process much faster and simpler, thus lowering the skill cap needed to create higher quality work. Fluid simulation was also a big breakthrough. I wonder what they used that for. There's also the appearance of wet skin or wetness that affects clothes and other materials, skin dentation, and lots of other stuff I can't go in depth about on YouTube. It's truly remarkable what can be accomplished when people are horny. And Marvel Rivals seems to be not only aware of, but alright with that? Overwatch punished their enthusiastic adult audience with butt nerfs, censorship, and copy strikes. Marvel Rivals, however, has seemingly given the discreet nod of approval to the adult animation community by creating models that were significantly more detailed and animation-friendly than the average game. The Wank Warriors first discovered this thanks to the diligent efforts of Jack Keck, who released a large file of Marvel Rivals models onto Google Drive. Usually, game characters have their clothing incorporated into the model, and it's the job of the adult fan animators to create an undressed body. The Marvel Rival models are made in layers though, with the nude body underneath the clothing. And when I say nude, it's more like a Barbie with no intimate details, but this is still a big deal for the fans. Some intrepid explorers dove deep into the model files and even claimed that Squirrel Girl has a bit of extra detail located on her squirrelacy, and sorry I said that. If you want to roast me, you can join my Discord. It's still too early to say for sure if Netease Games are for certain giving Gooners the go-ahead, especially because at the time of recording this, the latest game patch has patched out custom mods. So goodbye, Ultra Thick Venom. Okay, wait, just kidding. The Cumlords found a workaround, so Thick Venom is already back. However, it's also still too early to say that Netease Games aren't okay with fan creations outside of the game. Recent years have seen a lot of controversy in gaming when it comes to the way characters are portrayed, so it's no surprise people are excited about a company that doesn't seem afraid to offer some fan service. Years ago, the big issue was female characters constantly under fire for allegedly being unrealistic, sexist depictions of male fantasy or pandering towards straight male lust. Even characters that would later go on to be beloved by men and women alike, like Lara Croft and Bayonetta, went through this level of scrutiny. Growing up, I could understand that some of the women were showing more than the men, but because I played fighting games where everyone was powerful and you had a chance to win with any character, it didn't register to me as a disadvantage. I didn't think these women were being demeaned or made less than their male counterparts because of more skin. It was actually hearing adults say the female characters I liked were disgusting because of their bodies or whatever. That's what made me feel uncomfortable. What do you mean Isabella Ivy Valentine, the twisted blade of solitude, genius inventor who created her own weapon and brilliant alchemist, is just a whore because she's hot and shows it? Astaroth only wore a leather Speedo, and his boobs also have jiggle physics, but no one calls him a harlot. And don't get me started on Valdo. It was disappointing seeing how looks often matter more than a woman's accomplishments, even if she was a made-up character. The obvious double standard of only women being devalued for what they wore being inescapable even in video games was pretty miserable. Years and years of this type of bashing led to studios downsizing the TNA in games, like newer adaptations of Lara Croft featuring a much more modest chest size. The recent Mortal Kombat games cover up characters like Jade, Katana, and Melina. Does anyone remember Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U? I loved that game, but it turns out in the original, you could change your chest size in the character creator, but that feature was taken out for the Western release and had the size permanently locked at around a B cup. So if I wanted smaller or bigger, I could just go shit myself, I guess. What the fuck? I thought this was a free country. I thought this was America. Fortnite had jiggle physics for like 2 seconds back in season 6, then apologized for it and patched it out. And did you know that World of Warcraft Night Elves used to have more obvious boob jiggle physics, but people complained about it so bad that those got removed too? Like, what happened to this country? And speaking of World of Warcraft, less people would hate on spicy outfits for female characters in a game with character customization if those same options could be worn by the men. One of my favorite transmogs is a panty and thigh-high combo on female characters, but if you put the exact same bottoms on a male, it converts into these fugly pants. Why? I made a video a while back talking about the safe horny debate in games where anything perceived as for men is deemed bad even if women also like it. Check that video out for more context, but the TLDR is basically this image. That's why Final Fantasy, the MMO, got such praise. The outfits that were sexy on female models had a male counterpart equally as revealing. Like, just keep doing that. Stop censoring and nerfing sizes and deleting boob sliders and just make the men have skimpy options too. Because when everyone is slutty, no one will be. And that's the whole reason people are currently arguing over Marvel Rivals. Here's some controversial posts on Twitter that kicked up yet another big gender war, similar to what happened with Stellar Blade. So, we gonna slut the men out like this, or only the women? Many people who played the game countered that the men are also showing skin, the male bodies are also unrealistic, and the men are sexy too. However, this is an argument that's been going on for decades and not much has changed. Whenever the unrealistic bodies of the men are addressed, people claim that it's not men being sexualized, but rather a male power fantasy and therefore not the same. It pisses me off because it should be the same. You mean to tell me Psylocke's body is sexual and unrealistic because she has a leotard and curves, but Venom with his bulging muscles, tiny tapered waist and fat, sizable buttocks is just a male power fantasy? How are these skins not considered fan service? Maybe straight guys see these skins as cool depictions of masculinity, but if you're attracted to men, wouldn't it also be a little hot too? I really think this issue is a matter of perspective, because gay guys don't seem to have problem finding the sex appeal in male characters. I've seen Mr. X Tunes work. What happened to that guy, by the way? Do you think Disney threw him into Mickey's torture dungeon for making those animations? Anyway, women, come on. It's high time you start objectifying these pixel men. We will never reach equality if you aren't ogling guys the way they ogle us. Another point made by the pro-sexy men brigade was that the men simply need to also have their butts out like the female characters. With the Fantastic Four being put in the game, a lot of people loved Sue Storm's alternate Malice skin, and for the sake of equality, sexy men enthusiasts made an edit of Reed Richards to be on par with the Sue Storm Malice skin. One user then posed the question, would you be okay with male characters in the game looking like this? This is how some of the female characters look. Many Marvel fans really broke out the fan service, showcasing official art in the comic books of the men in scanty attire and provocative poses. Many man lovers also brought up how making men attractive for women isn't always about showing more skin, while the glute gladiators just kept insisting that it's time for the male characters to also have their butt cheeks out. Honestly, I agree with both takes. More butts, more joy. We could all use a bit more joy. The argument of every scantily clad handsome man only being a male power fantasy needs to end though, in my opinion. So the men get to have all the fun with women characters and the male ones?
I don't think so.
If you see men in skimpy clothes and only think it's a male power thing or that it's not hot, maybe you aren't the target demographic when it comes to male fan service. Plus, that same logic that desexualizes the nearly naked men can also be flipped and used on the hot women. Watch this. Those huge breasts aren't for pleasing men. They're a female fertility fantasy because they're for feeding babies. Not that she has to have a baby, her body, her choice, but if she did have a baby, she could feed the fuck out of it. Wide hips are so if she ever does have a baby, it just falls right out. Easy peasy. Motherhood is beautiful and pure and needed for human survival. It's not gooner bait. What biological purpose does a man having a sculpted backside serve? He can't get pregnant in the butt. Why are his pecs so big and bountiful? He makes no milk from his bosom for which to feed a babe. Why can't Bruce Banner invent clothes that stretch when he becomes the Hulk? Like, face it, he wants to show off in those little fucking shorts bursting at the seams. See, ladies, we can do it too. Being real here, I also get the male power fantasy argument. Yes, the men's bodies are unrealistic, but they aren't often made to look inviting for women the way that female characters are for men, and that's what makes the sexualization in most games and media not equal. You have women with boob windows, but not men with ball windows. It's totally unfair. And before you say boobs and balls aren't equal, silence, infidel, because what are balls if not the boobs of the dong? Yeah, take that. Speaking of equality, on the rare occasions we get a skimpy male protagonist, people cry about that too. When Final Fantasy Mobius came out in 2015 and showcased the male protagonist's attire, instead of being grateful, people whined that it was too sexy, and thus the final outfit was toned down. It's bullshit. Marvel Rival fans don't seem to be that fragile though, and Netease Games doesn't act like it's going to go the route of covered men and spicy costumes for the women only. The most revealing skins for the female characters are optional and not the default skins, and the men also have revealing options too. I think we're off to a great start here, and the only thing that could make it better for me is if they had some more monster and non-humanoid options to play as, and if they gave Rocket the Raccoon a Speedo skin. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. He's a genius from another galaxy, so he has all the coolest space gadgets, like a mini black hole to kill my enemies, and he's a short king. I don't care that he's a raccoon, because he's not like a regular raccoon, okay? I'm using the brony logic here. He has a brain and he's sentient, so he can consent. He can say, no, I don't want to have sex with you if he didn't want to, okay? Like, we can communicate here. It's not the same. Don't give me that look. I'm also tired of them always marketing big man, small women size difference. I want to be the big one, and the man should be a tiny little freak I can toss around, because why not? Equality! Also, I know this video is more about Marvel Rivals and Netease Games, but since I did mention Blizzard, I'm going to take this chance to berate them for casting Heroes of the Storm into the reject child cupboard under the stairs, never to be updated again, all because they couldn't turn their casual MOBA into the next LCS. I loved Heroes of the Storm. Like, how much breast milk is it going to take to get Blizzard to update it again? Video's over now, fuck off.